What's up, everybody? Who's here? Who's ready? What's up, Cindy?
Welcome, everybody. I'm sure Dieter will have something to say about that. I finally found my live feed here. So, welcome. You've all been watching me wonder if I'm on live, and I just realized that I am. So, welcome, everybody. This is Capt Ron here, flying solo yet another evening. My First Officer and Chief Technical Officer, Dieter Staudinger, is off with his family of origin, actually. He's in Turkey. They live in Austria, where he was born, but his mom had her 70th birthday this week, and he flew over across the pond, those overwater flights that so many of you absolutely love. And he's over there spending some time on the beaches of Turkey, which I have never been to. So I can't wait to have him come back and tell us some stories about how that was. But anyway, we wish him well and his mom a happy birthday. And so I'll be the one holding down the fort again tonight. And we have what I hope is an interesting show for you. And I'll get right into it there. We'll let me go back to, there we go. Okay, welcome. Once again, this is Fearless Flight Live, our weekly show on Facebook. We broadcast every week. And this is for those of you who have a fear of flying, or someone who you might know who has a fear of flying, or if you're just fascinated with airplanes and flying, you've come to the right place. We come here every week. We try to answer your questions, and I will do my best to see what's going on here. I'll look for comments here and try to keep up. So that'll be something new for me. Of course, we always remind you of our Fearless Flight Birds of a Feather private Facebook group. This is for folks like you who are trying to get information and connect with other people about their fear of flying, and join a community, because community is where it's at. It's comforting to know that you're not the only one out there that suffers from this, which tends to be the issue from time to time when you think that you're the only one that suffers from this problem. Tonight, several things I want to talk about. Our upcoming class this weekend in LA. If you're going to be in the LA area, I really hope you can come and join us up in Valencia at the Air Hollywood Studios for our second live Fearless Flight Clear for Takeoff 101 class back in the LA area that we did regularly during pre-pandemic, and we've started back up again. We had a great crowd last time, and looks like it's going to size up to another nice class this time. I'm going to mention the Clear for Takeoff 301 graduation flight coming up at the end of this month, and talk about something, some news out of the Newark airport there, and we'll talk about not only what the story was here, but also how to best protect yourself against going off the deep end when you see things like this. Again, I'll highlight the Air Hollywood question, and hopefully I'll be able to field questions here as I look to see if anybody puts any comments in there. Okay, so this week, I just saw it today. In the title of the article was Air Traffic Concerns at the Newark Airport. Actually, they were much more graphic. And the thing I'll say, first of all, was consider the source, not just being on the internet, but the source that posted the article on the internet. This comes from the New York Post, and I don't mean to be hypercritical, but I do think that it falls into a little bit more sensational reporting than perhaps other sources like the New York Times or the Washington Post. And so you have to be kind of on guard for stories that sensationalize it. No doubt there is some validity for this concern, and this presentation or this the article talks about a report about the safety and staffing at the Newark Liberty International Airport, and it was on both the New York Post and NBC News. And sometimes they feed each other's needs for sensationalism. This was a whistleblower. It was anonymous. Somebody who works for air traffic control. It doesn't say what capacity. It's assumed it was an air traffic controller, and he allegedly talked to NBC's Tom Costello, suggesting that there was a severe safety issue at at the Newark airport. And the complaint was that they had a real shortage of air traffic controllers. At the same time, they have a lot of ongoing runway construction up there, and of course, it's a busy airport. And so when you put the bullet point number 2, ongoing construction, and number 3, high volume traffic, on top of severe shortage of air traffic controllers, it can measure up to conditions that are far from optimal. And as I've been saying to people who've asked me about this, and some of the media interviews I've done recently, where they asked me, "Is this a concern? And does it mean the skies are more dangerous?" I'm going to say generally no. And here's where I'm coming from in this. What happens is when you have a shortage of controllers, particularly air traffic controllers, but the shortages could be due to the lack of maintenance people as well to maintain the electronics, the radar scopes, and the electronic communications as well. When you have a shortage of people like that, the first thing that it manifests normally to pilots like myself is we start getting delays. So just imagine construction, for example. Forget about any shortages or anything like that. If they're working on a taxiway, a major taxiway that leads out to the active runway out there, so it reduces the number of ways that you can get to the taxiway. You can imagine, just like a traffic jam on city streets, when you've got a street that's closed and traffic has to divert to other ones, it's going to make the other streets and thoroughfares busier. And you're going to have to do some jockeying to get around whatever the hazards are. So that's the first thing that happens if you had a physical limitation in the airport. If you have controllers where you don't have enough of them, what happens is they can't handle as many airplanes. And so in this day and age, we take delays on the ground. So many of you, if you have flown or you've got loved ones that have flown, and they're trying to get, let's say, from Phoenix to Los Angeles, and one delay would be due to weather, and let's say the visibility is low in Los Angeles. So what that does is it limits the number of airplanes that can land in a given hour and take off, of course, because you have both airplanes landing and taking off. And so what happens is in the old days, we used to get airborne, and then when we'd encounter these delays, we would take our delays in the air, and it was very expensive, particularly as the price of fuel climbed. And so we would burn a lot of fuel holding, and sometimes we'd reach our bingo fuel or our limits, and we'd have to go to our alternate, and then you'd have to refuel, and then you'd have to complete your trip back to the original destination. So way back in the early 70s, they created the Air Route Traffic Control Center in Washington, D.C., and this facility controls the flow throughout the United States. And what that means is, for example, if I was using that previous example, if I'm in Phoenix on the ground, I'm going to Los Angeles, and there's delays over there, they're going to wait until they can work me into the traffic overhead, much like you would do if you're in a big city on the freeways and you're entering on the on-ramps. You're going to encounter the metering system, where you get the red light until it goes green and you can join the traffic flow on the freeway. And so that's the same kind of system. So I'm not here to tell you that shortages don't cause concerns, but they don't cause the kinds of concerns that you might react to. In this case, we'll have to see what happens. We'll have to see whether this turns into something more. And Newark has faced long-term understaffing and is currently dealing with reduced personnel and construction that hinders the operations. So that compounds delays and safety risks. And again, the safety part of it is that the implication is here is that there are too few controllers so that somebody's not watching what's going on. And my experience for all the years that I was in the air traffic control system, that generally isn't the case. The limitations are that they don't let as many airplanes into the air. So Newark, like a lot of the other areas in the country, is having trouble finding people out there. And one of the things that is probably worthy is United Airlines responded by canceling 35 round-trip flights per day. And they said that this was to protect their customers. Again, I'm not disputing that might be one of the reasons. I would say the biggest reason is they don't want the delays. And they know that it bogs down their operations. So they don't want airplanes stuck on the ground in Newark that were supposed to be in the air, going to other airports, and then continuing on and carrying other passengers throughout the day. So the airports, I'm sorry. They according to United, they've admitted that Newark can't handle their current volume, and I think that's probably a bigger motivator than any issue about safety and concerns for their passengers. The concerns of their passengers are legitimate, but they're concerns that they don't make people unhappy by having them delayed and missing connecting flights at other airports. Some of the things that federal officials have been doing to rectify the problem is they've been offering as much as $5,000 bonuses for new air traffic controllers, getting people to join the FAA, and the Transportation Secretary has indicated that there might be some systemic cracks. And we'll have to see what the current administration does with those issues. Some of the details reported in this article says that the FAA says they're about 2,000 controllers short as of September 2023. I apologize, I failed to find out just what percentage that is of if they were fully staffed. I don't have a number on the top of my head that would give you an idea of how many controllers it would be if they were fully staffed. And again, this talks about chronic understaffing across the USA. And again, the third bullet point here deals with the item that I said. It's the delays that become common at airports where they have staffing shortages. And this one says they're over 2 hours. So yeah, so that's why, again, United probably was more concerned about this than anything, is they don't want to get their airplanes tied up in delays on the ground there. So what do? You stay informed, as you're doing right here, and you consider contingency plans when flying through or into Newark. So if you were thinking about going from anywhere and you had a connecting flight through Newark, you might consider finding somebody who went around that. And as we know, United is stopped some of the traffic from going through there, so they themselves might be routing you around the Newark airport. If you're going into Newark, you're kind of stuck with that. But you got, of course, you've got LaGuardia and you've got Kennedy in the area up there as well. Safety is always a top concern with the people responsible for that. And like I said, it's not correct to assume that when you have fewer controllers than what you'd like to have, that it will result in an unsafe situation in the air, because we handle those problems before we get the airplanes in the air. And for sure, if the equipment goes down during a flight, they have backups and all that, and sometimes the computers have gone down. And ultimately, what they'll do, if it affects safety, is they'll ground everybody that's in the air. They'll put everybody on the ground, route other traffic around the affected areas, and do that. And this, of course, is joint effort by the public, the airlines, and the federal agencies to work together to address the growing concerns about this. Along with this, I wanted to provide you with a little bit of information about something called negativity bias and how it affects flight anxiety. We are, as human beings, biased negatively, and there are several reasons for that. And I wanted to discuss. This is something that comes up often in coaching sessions and in classes, how this impacts your bias and your flight anxiety. The survival mechanism focuses on danger, like predators, and we got that from our ancestors hundreds of thousands of years ago. And so it tends to weigh negative experiences more heavily than positive ones. As I said, its origins are in our ancestors, and those ancestors who did not pay attention to negative threats out there tended not to make it, and they got eaten. So we got what I call the worry gene, and because of that, we are biased to worry more about things that are worry negatively more than we worry about positive things. And the part of the brain that is responsible for this, you've heard me refer to it time and again, is the amygdala. And in a nutshell, what it does is it helps recall positive or significant emotional events and feelings. And of course, it happens to remind us of positive ones, like seeing your first love, marriages, births of your children, lots of positive events in your life. But it's biased to pay attention first and foremost about negative or towards negative concerns or negative things that happen out there, consequences that would be negative. An example of this I use is, let's say I go to fly with you and you're a little nervous about flying, and your overall reaction to having me fly along with you might be positive, in that you could ask me questions and in real time, and I could reassure you when you deal with the sights, sounds, and sensations that are unfamiliar to you. But just imagine on some twisted day, we get airborne and I pull a gun on you. What happens to your fear of flying? Well, it immediately vaporizes. It goes away, as you can well imagine. And that part of your brain, the amygdala that was charged with keeping you safe, no longer worries about fear of flying. Now it worries about the more immediate threat of some knucklehead like me sitting there with a gun. And that shows you how our brain is prioritized to pay attention to negative things versus positive. And it really, really, really is what powers your fuel for your anxiety. How does this manifest? Not only does it manifest in like your first story, talking about when you hear stories about a shortage of air traffic controllers in and around the Newark area and the FAA air traffic control system, but it also aggravates other things like turbulence. It interprets it as a sign of impending crash or danger. Mechanical noises. When you don't know what the cause is, you tend to interpret them as a malfunction or something going wrong. And what we've seen this year with the two accidents in the Northeast up there, one in Washington, D.C. and the other one up in Toronto, what it does is it raises our sense of awareness about those things. And we now misinterpret that as more of a trend rather than the anomaly that they were. And so again, turbulence, we tend to interpret that as some kind of catastrophic event that's just around the corner. And that's largely aggravated by the fact that we have a bias. I'm sorry, that we have a biological process that goes on, and we literally feel dread and overwhelming emotion that feels like danger. And then that adds to the propensity for us to imagine that whatever's going on that's triggering you right now is something of significance. I mentioned how the amygdala is the one that is responsible for heightening our emotional arousal, both in the positive realm and in the negative realm. And then the prefrontal cortex kind of struggles with that to downregulate fear. The amygdala is more of an automatic response. There's not much you can do to it. It's connected to our startle response. And another thing that I haven't mentioned much before is the hippocampus, part of our memory network, stores vivid memory of negative flight experiences. So the amygdala and the hippocampus are tied together to prioritize and hang on to those significant negative emotional experiences, and it's such that it says, I'm never going to let you be a victim to that. And if we talk I touched on this before as well, if we talk on the historical versus present day threats, our ancestors who faced lots and lots of threats that had immediate and dire consequences for them, we don't have stressors like that, but we do have the same wiring. So we're subject to the same kinds of responses. And then we look to the role of the media, like in the story about the air traffic control shortage in Newark. And that tends to magnify what are otherwise rare aviation incidents. And again, we saw that back in the mid-air collision in Washington, D.C. And you notice it's kind of dropped out of the news now, even though it captured everybody's attention right there. So the overall net effect of this is it impacts your perception of risk. It tries to tell you that the risk is much greater than what you thought. So these are some of the strategies that we can use to counteract this negativity bias, and what it speaks to is a more holistic approach of using both cognitive resources, your emotional resources, and behavioral changes. So some of them are pre-flight planning and education. You know, one of the three legs of the Fearless Flight method is education. When you know more, you do better. When you know better, you do better. Guided visualizations and meditations are powerful ways to strengthen that part of the brain that helps you resist falling victim to negativity bias. I'm going to talk about this month. I apologize I didn't have the highlight up there, but this month we're going to talk about what can you do to get you onto an airplane the quickest. That's going to be the theme for our monthly group coaching session coming up on May 15th. That'll be a week from this Thursday. And then we'll have an encore presentation again on the Saturday morning, May 17th. And we're going to talk about journaling, not only journaling as you go, but post-flight journaling and debriefing, and how important that is. Heart coherence breathing, or I call it heart rate variability breathing, where you do that should be 4 and 6, 4 seconds inhale and 6 seconds to exhale. You may have heard me make reference to the elephant and the rider aspects of our brain and how we use self-talk, distance self-talk, to literally distance ourselves from our own emotional trauma sometimes. And then lastly, just being an attitude of gratitude and positivity training. So, okay. And what do we have to help you counter this? 60-minute one-to-one coaching sessions, which you can book right online at a time that's convenient for you. This is something new, the custom neurosync guided visualizations. The Fearless Flight Harmonizer has been our long-standing, most popular resource. It's an audio program, and I'm going to touch on these a little bit right here. And monthly group coaching webinars. That's the one I mentioned that is the third Thursday of every month, and the next one is coming up on May 15. So you'll want to take a look at your calendar and see if you can fit that in. Let's see, I'm going to skip forward here. I'm going to remind you again, here's the link for any of you who might be available and in the Los Angeles area this weekend, May 10th. This is the resumed Clear for Takeoff 101 classes in the Air Hollywood facility, where we have the benefit of using a mock-up of not only a cabin, the airplane, the cabin part of an airliner, but also the waiting room and the boarding process. So we'll get to maybe help you trigger a little bit of anxiety to make it a little bit more realistic. People comment that within minutes they feel anxious like they do on an airplane. So there's the link there, flf.link/101-LA. May 10th, and we'll be starting this time at 10 o'clock in the morning, 10 o'clock LA time, and we'll be going an extra hour for 3 hours. We'll be dismissing at 1 o'clock, 1 p.m. Okay. And then coming up at the end of the month, as we've been hyping here, we're going to have a joint graduation, Clear for Takeoff 301 flight. I'm going to start in the morning at over at the Burbank Airport. I'm going to bring folks who have signed up and want to practice their skills in real life situation, namely on a commercial flight on Southwest. We'll depart Burbank. We'll fly to Phoenix. We'll land here. We'll gather some Phoenix-based folks who are doing the same thing, only they'll go back with us to Burbank. We'll have some time when we get back to Burbank to debrief with everybody and go through a little bit certification ceremony, and then I will reboard the airplane with the Phoenix folks, and we'll go back to Phoenix and call it a day. So I hope again you can do this. I have people ask me all the time, when's the next class? The flying class, and this is it. So we probably won't do one again until September. So if you've been waiting out there on an opportunity to fly and practice your skills in the safety of me and the Fearless Flight staff, as well as a bunch of other fearful flyers, this is your opportunity to do that. One of the things that comes up all the time is I have people say, "What, Capt Ron, I'm flying, in less than a month. What's the best thing I can do?" And like I said, our monthly group coaching webinar on the 15th of the month here is going to deal with this in much greater detail. But the one thing that I've put together is something I call the Rapid Relief Kit. And it is the fastest path to overcoming your flight anxiety and getting on an airplane. So if you got a really important flight coming up and one that you especially can't miss, this might be something to look into. And what's inside that is number one, there's a 60-minute one-to-one coaching session with me. And I record that as I do all of my coaching sessions, unless you don't want that. But I record this, and then I take the transcript and I edit it down, and I create a script for a custom neural sync guided visualization, which is the second bullet point there. So this is like your own personal Fearless Flight harmonizer, which is the third part of this. So you get a 60-minute coaching session, you get a custom neural sync guided visualization, and you get a Fearless Flight harmonizer audio program to go along with that. So the custom neural sync is something that we use, and I use the elephant and the rider metaphor in there. It's a personal conversation that I have with you using your name, using distance self-talk to help you distance yourself from your own emotional negativity sometimes. And I use imagery that's personal to you and resonates with you, along with the story that we talk about, and then in your specific needs that come up during the coaching session. The harmonizer comes with this as well. It's a 32-minute multi-track audio program. It's based in neuroscience. In technical aspects, it uses bilateral stimulation, which is something that is an integral part of EMDR. And what that means is you have different messages coming into different hemispheres of the brain through sound separation, and you listen to this typically with earbuds or headphones, and it really helps if they're the noise canceling ones. And then the last thing is the harmonizer has a guided narration to deepen your sense of relaxation. It is something that has been around for 23 years now, since I first launched this. It's widely acclaimed. While it looks like there are hard products here, that was the early days. Now, as you know, everything is digital downloads and streaming. So you don't get all those hard copies again. You can purchase it and download it right away. This still is the #1 selling tool that I have, and it's just something that really helps. So back on the Rapid Relief Kit, it includes all of these. It includes the FearlessFlight Harmonizer, the custom NeuroSync guided visualization, and a one-to-one coaching session. And this normally would sell individually for $597, and I offer a $200 discount down to $297. And in addition to that, let's say you already have the Flight Harmonizer, I will give you a discount to compensate for the fact that you already own that. Okay. If you have any interest in that, send me an email or go on to fearlessflight.com and you can select it there. Okay. People who have done this thing. I've been offering the Rapid Relief Kit for coming up on a year now. And these are some of the quotes. I never thought I'd enjoy flying. Amanda said that. She just flew down to Costa Rica and had a wonderful vacation with her husband and 2 small children. She said that the visualization audio made turbulence my new friend. And you might find it hard to believe, but what it does is it tends to distract you when you listen to the audio, either the visualization or the Fearless Flight Kit. And Mary M., somebody who's been a client for many years now, she said this had her booking her next trip without fear. And again, just to say a few words about the 301 graduation flight coming up, it's an opportunity to practice your skills on a real flight. I can't tell you how important that is to many people, and it's something that you wouldn't believe unless you witness it, like I have so many times. You go to the airport, you see people coming. Some people are even considering not getting on the airplane or getting off once they get on. Within 15 minutes, I accuse a lot of folks of doing this for the attention, because they settle in and they experience real relief. A big part of it is the practice and the things that they've done ahead of time. But the biggest part, I think, is the sense of community and joining other people that have done that. So again, if you're going to be in Phoenix or in Burbank on the 31st, and you're going to be available, I really encourage you to come out and take this flight with us. And again, just a reminder that fear doesn't mean that you're broken. It means you're human. And like every human emotion, fear can be understood, managed, and even transformed. And I've got thousands of people over the 37 years that I've been doing this that bear witness to that. It may always bring you some discomfort, but it no longer has to bring you a sense of defeat. And aviation is safe. The more you study it, the more you educate yourself, the more you'll come to believe that on an emotional level, not just on an intellectual level. And your fear has a voice, but not a vote. And every time you choose to take your seat and fly in an airplane and breathe through the discomfort, you're not just going somewhere, you're becoming stronger. So flight by flight, you reclaim your freedom. And I want you to be a part of that. I don't want you to miss significant family events and business opportunities anymore. I want you to come and join us. Let me see. I'm going to stop this. I'm going to quickly look for any questions coming in there. I don't have my normal observer there, Dieter. I do not see any comments in here or any questions. I may just be looking in the wrong part. Anyways, I apologize. Send me a message at Capt Ron, CAPTRON at fearlessflight.com if you had something that you need to have. And by all means, keep flying and come back here every week to see another episode of Fearless Flight. Hopefully my cohort and first officer will be here next week, Dieter Staudinger. I wish him a safe and enjoyable vacation over there. And same with you. If you're flying this week, go out and enjoy yourself and keep coming back. We really appreciate the support that you get here and you give to other people. So keep flying, and I'll see you next week. Thanks again, everybody. Bye-bye.